First video in the brave new world, literally, hopefully not, of 2021. Today is Wednesday, the 6th of January, which one way or another is going to go down as a momentous day in history. So first things first, as far as the UK is concerned, as anyone living here will be only too aware, the entire nation has been placed into another full harsh lockdown. Everything's closed, including schools. The only thing that's open is supermarkets and doctors' surgeries. And as a friend of mine often comments, and I've mentioned before, if this were a real pandemic, ask yourself how many days Tesco has been closed in the last year. But we had the bumbling, treacherous, treasonous, Etonian oaf Bojo appear on Monday evening with a national address saying,
everything's back into lockdown, folks. We've got to stop the spread of the virus and flatten the curve. So everything has to be closed down. One last push, and we're all in this together. So let's beat the virus.
So here we are in these harsh conditions, and we continue to get a free sample of life in a communist regime, which is what this country and many, many other nations around the world have now become. Not a lot of difference between how we're now living and how people in the Soviet Eastern Bloc Cold War era were living. A tenet of a communist society is that all joy and all opportunity for pleasurable pursuits has been stripped away. And that's exactly what we have. You know, the communist era of Soviet Russia and all those Eastern Bloc nations was not known for its party scene. It was certainly known for it afterwards when they dismantled that whole structure after the Berlin Wall came down and after all these communist nations, their governments collapsed. Major parties, major raves going on then. Maybe we can look forward to something similar when this shit show is over, whatever that looks like and whenever that will be. But here we are in a communist society with all joy and all pleasure stripped away and just the basic bare essentials remaining. I do find it interesting that these measures were introduced at the stroke of midnight today, so earlier today, the 6th of January, of all the dates it could have been. All along we've seen everything that's being done to us in the UK done by dates, by numbers. Significant moments in this whole narrative have occurred on solstices, equinoxes, pagan festivals. We've had things coming into play on Halloween, a big announcement of a lockdown made on Halloween, which came in on the 5th of November, important date in British history. Then we had announcements over Christmas. We had another one New Year's Eve to just crush and destroy any hopes of New Year's Eve celebrations and parties, even though happily I hear many did go on. And now we've got this announcement coming on the 6th of January, or coming into effect today. So everything's being done by design, everything's pre-planned, nothing is random. This whole thing has been mapped out long in advance. And what I find interesting is that many people have been messaging me over previous days from different countries throughout Europe, and they're telling me that their nations are being placed into similar harsh lockdowns at exactly the same time. I had somebody from Denmark today saying that that nation's been plunged into totalitarianism. All their rights and freedoms have been taken away, just the same as us here in the UK. And I've had similar communications from people in Austria, Italy, Germany, and many other nations. So is it a coincidence that all these nations are getting locked down at the same time, or is there more to this? And could it be tied into what's happening in the United States, which we'll get onto? So many times in recent weeks, people have commented to me that it feels like we are living in some bizarre, surreal, Monty Python-esque comedy sketch, dark, bleak comedy. Or people say it's as if we're unwitting participants in an episode of The Twilight Zone, or even The Truman Show. If we think back to what that movie was all about, Truman, the central character, was taking part in basically a big virtual reality show where his whole life was a movie that was being watched by many other people and monitored and surveilled and studied. And he came to realize that he'd been participating in this process without realizing it. And it just makes me think of the parallels to our own situation here. With so many people commenting that it feels like we're taking part in one big movie, could there actually be some truth to that? And could everything that we're experiencing be scripted and pre-planned with that kind of scenario in mind? It is a momentous day in the UK today because another vote is due to take place in Parliament concerning an extension to the treasonous, treacherous, unlawful, illegal Coronavirus Act of 2020. And one of the items up for discussion, up for the vote today, as I understand it, is whether to restrict international air travel to only those who have taken the COVID vaccine. So we've seen this one coming for some time. We've suspected that this has been the long-term plan to severely curtail people's freedoms of movement based around whether they've taken the COVID vaccine or not. So we've had Ryanair recently, as I mentioned in my last video, putting out ads with the slogan jab and go and implying that the only way you're going to be able to get a summer holiday in 2021 is if you've taken the vaccine. So very dangerous times, very desperate times. And most regular members of society, what we call normies, will be going about their business today and they'll have no idea that all of this is being discussed in Westminster and the ramifications and implications for their future and those of their families. I think that's one of the reasons why they've closed down the schools for the next few weeks, so that parents are forced to homeschool their kids and they're going to spend all their time during the day doing the schoolwork with their children rather than paying attention to other things that are going on. That's just a part of this whole thing. So people had better care and had better be concerned about how this whole thing turns out today. I've got word of a big protest event that is happening in London today to coincide with this vote in Parliament. Apparently the event was due to take place on the 11th of January and it's been moved forward to today, the 6th, urgently to coincide with this vote. I've only just found out about this event, so it's been too late for me to be able to give any advance notice for anyone that wants to attend, but I'll be watching with great interest as to how that event panned out today. Which leads us to events in the United States today, 6th of January. Today is, of course, the day that the Electoral College process goes to Congress. And this is Team Trump's opportunity to prove that electoral fraud took place on the part of the Democrats and the Chinese Communist Party. There's so much evidence now to show that Joe Biden, the Democrats, and that whole ugly side of the US establishment has been working in close collusion with the Chinese Communist Party. And what has been going on is a slow motion overtake of so many nations around the world with communist ideology. This has been slow drip fed into educational institutions over many, many years. It's been a war of ideology. This is the new way in which wars are being waged without a single bullet being fired. It's wars of psychology and wars of societal manipulation. It's done slowly, it's done covertly, it's the art of war. There are strategies in place here which most people have no comprehension of. And we've seen a slow motion takeover of particularly the United States, but many other countries as well, with Chinese-style communist ideology. So today is the opportunity for the Trump team to present all the evidence that it has and to prove to the Electoral College and to the wider world that there was massive fraud on so many levels, with input from many different nations, many different groups, many different parties representing many different interests. It's the opportunity for Donald Trump to present all the evidence that's needed to secure his second term in office. And we are going to find out, I feel, based around how today pans out, just how closely the whole COVID-19 scamdemic has been linked to Donald Trump and the US election and the attempts to derail and sabotage that. And a lot of people say it doesn't really matter what happens in the States, that doesn't affect anything. Absolutely wrong. You'd better care. You'd better be concerned about how things pan out in the US, because nothing is going to change anywhere else around this messed up world until things get resolved in the US first. The title of a record by the late great R&B singer Aaliyah comes to mind. It was called We Need a Resolution. Yes, we do. And so we need to take a great interest in what's going to happen in the United States today, 6th of January. Either way, 2 weeks on from today is the 20th. It's Inauguration Day. And if Joe Biden is getting sworn in as the 46th president of the United States on that date, then we'd better all be mighty concerned. But I don't feel it will come to that, and I feel that we are going to find out just how closely everything has been interconnected, and it might start to make some sense of the experiences that we've all been forced to undergo these past several months. It feels like we're reaching crunch time, and Lord knows we've waited long enough, and Lord knows we need this whole thing to move forward now. So it's a very momentous day on both sides of the Atlantic, and we will see, as ever, how it pans out. Many pundits have their opinions and their speculation and their insistences on what this is going to lead to. I prefer to just observe from the sidelines in a detached but very interested way. It's just a brief one for today. I'll have some more stuff to share with you at the weekend. I want to leave you with an excerpt from episode 3 of the recent Fireside Chats, not to be confused with Greg Carlwood's Higherside Chats. This was posted by Clay Clark, and it features the attorney Lin Wood, who is part of Trump's legal team. So Lin Wood is actually a man. It's short for Lincoln. It's very confusing because we've got Sidney Powell, the lawyer, who is actually a woman, and we've got Lin Wood, who is actually a man. But Lin Wood, as many people have noticed, has been dropping bombs these past few days on Twitter. Fearless real talk. This is a man of God. He's got great faith. He's a Christian patriot, significant part of Trump's legal team. And he has been just coming with the real talk, saying what needs to be said. And he's had lots of things to say about Joe Biden, about Bill Gates, about John Roberts, about Obama, about so many people. So let's take a listen to this as we play out. It feels as if things really are starting to happen now, if nothing else, because Lin Wood is coming out and making all these major revelations that are really getting noticed and rattling a few cages out there. So we'll play out with this. I'll catch you again soon, and let's hope and literally pray to God that today turns out to be a momentous day in history in the way that we need it to be, because humanity sure does need a resolution right now.
So here we go. We're going into the truth canon here. Here we go. Chief Justice Roberts, as we fly over the target, you recently tweeted out, "I cannot imagine the pressures felt by the Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court. Tough job. Bet it is even tougher when you know that Nancy Pelosi, Rod Rosenstein, John Podesta, and John Brennan have a damning and incriminating recording of you. Tough way to earn a living." What do you mean by that, sir?
I believe that there's documentation that Chief Justice John Roberts was involved in discussions about the successor to Justice Anthony Scalia before Justice Scalia died. I believe that those individuals I named have recordings of that conversation. That was their protection against anyone ratting out the other one. One goes, they all go. I believe that exists. I believe that the evidence exists in a sealed document in a federal court in Maryland, but sealed under alleged national security. If that document is opened and the fake claim of national security is removed, we're going to learn a lot about the truth about Justice John Roberts. I also believe that John Roberts did know Jeffrey Epstein, that he did fly on his plane. I don't know. I've seen pictures that I don't really believe are John Roberts at the island. But I would say to your viewers, your listeners, what's the connection? Check out whether Jeffrey Epstein had anything to do with Justice Roberts adopting 2 children from Wales. I think you're going to find that John Roberts has a special place in hell waiting for him. And he has no business being on the Supreme Court of the United States. He's corrupt. He's evil. He needs to go.
So let's move on to Joe Biden. Again, I think a lot of Americans up until this year probably been apolitical, meaning that they don't probably vote a lot, and if they do, they probably just show up and vote straight ballot. They vote, straight Republican or straight Democrat. A lot of people haven't really thought about, man, I wonder if the people running for office have connections to the communist Chinese. What does every American need to know about Joe Biden?
Joe Biden is owned by communist China. He's taken money from communist China in business deals involving him, his brother, and Hunter. I believe you'll find he also took money from the Ukraine. Joe Biden is corrupt. Joe Biden has got issues beyond corruptness from money. There are times when I learn things about Hunter Biden that are disgusting, but I wonder what his life was like as a child. Joe Biden also has a special place in hell waiting for him.
So we move on to
he will never be president of the United States of America. I do not believe Almighty God would allow a man like that to ever set foot in the Oval Office.
What you just said sounds crazy for someone who hasn't heard it before, and I have cited all of it. So if anybody wants to, if you heard what Lynn just said and you're going, I'd like to see proof of that, please text me. Don't text Lynn. Lynn is fighting for our country. He's doing lawsuits. I'm not that talented. Text me, 918-851-6920, 918-851-6920, and I will send you irrefutable proof of Joe Biden's corruption and Chinese connections. It's truly incredible. And when you see Hunter Biden's connection to the communist Chinese and just all the nefarious things going on, his laptop, gross. Now, President Barack Obama, I hate to use the word president before I say Barack Obama, but he was the president. What does everybody need to know about Barack Obama?
Barack Obama hates America. Barack Obama is a communist. Barack Obama wants to run this country again. That's why the puppet of Biden and Harris are the ones they tried to put into office. It would have been actually run by Barack Obama with probably the input from Hillary Clinton. Barack Obama is a criminal. He's a phony. Somebody needs to check in and see how much money Barack Obama is worth. It'll be well over $1 billion. He inherited it from his stepfather, who was a major owner of Halliburton stock. This country is going to be shocked when it learns the truth of the level of corruption and evil that exists and has existed for a number of years, if not decades, in the highest echelons of our government and our so-called business leaders. When you hear me say that communism has taken over this country without firing a shot, I believe it. They did it through ideology. They did it through money, corruption. They did it through extortion, blackmail. You go to China, you go to Russia, they'll take you out, they'll give you some drinks. Next thing you know, you're on videotape with a young woman. From that point on, they own you. China is not the Chinese people. There are millions and millions of Chinese people who are oppressed, who want to find God, who cry out for freedom. The Communist Chinese Party is evil. It's a small group of the Chinese people. It oppresses the masses. It's exactly what that small group of communist leaders in China want to do to the United States of America. I only have to look at Georgia. And I've learned in the past 2 months that Georgia, through its governor and administration officials, we do more business and promote China, communist China, more than we promote the state of Georgia. I believe people in Georgia are going to jail for treason. I believe many people in this country are going to jail for treason. The level of involvement of individuals in this country in trying to steal the election of our president is going to be mind-boggling.